Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Learn Linux TV. In today's video, what I'm going to do is give you a preview of the new Cosmic Desktop by System76. Now, this is a desktop environment that's still in development, so it's not something that you should use as your daily driver just yet, but I always think it's fun to check in and see where development is on a project. This is something that I've looked at before in a previous video, but I wanted to do an updated video to show you where it's at as of today. Now, another thing I'm going to do a little bit differently this time around is I'm going to show you the Cosmic Desktop running on Fedora. Yes, Fedora. The thing is, you can install the Cosmic Desktop and other distributions. You don't have to use Pop! OS. So if you use Fedora, well, I'll leave a link down below in the description for how you go about installing it, but I'll show you Cosmic in action in Fedora in this video. Now, before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know that I have a brand new PDF available for download. If you donate just $15 or more to Learn Linux TV, then you'll be able to download this PDF, which is great for all of you that are just switching to Linux for the very first time or checking out the platform for the very first time, because it features 10 tips for those of you that are switching to Linux to have the experience be more successful. There's over 40 pages in this PDF, so it has all kinds of helpful tips for those of you that are making the transition, so definitely check it out. Either way, it's time to get started and check out the Cosmic Desktop, so let's do that right now. And here it is in all its glory. Here's the most recent version of the Cosmic Desktop as of recording time. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to give you my final opinion on this desktop environment as of today because it's not done. That wouldn't be fair. But I think it's a lot of fun to see where something is in its current state of development, and, well, let's do it. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that we have a panel up here at the top, and we also have one here at the bottom. And down here at the bottom, we have our pinned applications. So you can see I have Firefox, a file manager, a terminal, and obviously if I click on one of these, it opens the application. Now, before I show you this, I just wanted to spend a moment to talk about this green border, and I actually get a lot of people asking me about this. A lot of people don't like this. There's a functional reason why this exists, though, I want to show you real quick before we get too far into the preview. And what this does is it lets you see which application has focus, and what you could do is hold the super key and press the left arrow or the right arrow to switch between applications in that direction. So the green border really lets you know which one has focus. In my opinion, it's a bit too thick. I think they just need to make it a bit thinner. But if for some reason you really don't like this, it's very easy to turn off. Basically what you do is you click the tiling menu right here, and then you see where it says active hint, you simply toggle that off, and you can see that it went away. So if that's not something that you like, that's very easy to disable. But anyway, back to the preview. Here we have the file manager for the Cosmic Desktop, and for the most part, it's a very standard file browser. We also have a list view, which is my favorite here. So you could change the view, you could go through different files and different folders and navigate your file system accordingly. So for the most part, it's a very basic file manager, but I really like that because I don't really need all that much in a file manager. I just need to see my files. We can also hide the sidebar by clicking this icon right here. We can access the menu here if you want to configure anything. We have settings under the view menu right here. So if I click here, we can switch between light and dark modes, for example. By default, it's going to match the desktop settings, which you'll see the desktop settings in just a moment, but that's the file manager right here. Anyway, let's take a more proper look around. I've already mentioned that we have a panel down here and we have a panel up here. I'll be showing you more about both shortly, but I wanted to spend some time looking at workspaces and applications, which are two menus that you'll be using frequently. Now, one quick thing I want to mention is that I've customized my desktop a little bit because I've been using this for a little while, so you'll probably see some settings and tweaks that aren't quite the same as it would be out of the box. For example, if I click on Workspaces, you'll see that I have a horizontal layout right here. By default, you'll have a vertical layout. But if I'm on a workspace and then I open an application, it'll open on that workspace, and you just saw the creation of workspace number 3 right here. So what we have here is dynamic workspaces, where you always have one more than you need, and that makes it a lot easier to sort your applications between workspaces. So I'll open up a terminal here. And then what I could do is open workspaces and drag this into the different workspace here. You'll see that workspace 4 was created immediately. And then here on workspace 3, I have my terminal. So if this looks similar to you as it did in previous versions of Pop! OS, you're probably right. There's going to be a lot of similarities here because we have the same design for the most part, or the same layout of the desktop elements. Now, this desktop environment was completely written from scratch, so it's not a port or an upgrade. This is a completely new thing, but it looks very similar to previous versions of the Cosmic Desktop environment as it was in Pop! OS. So if you are familiar with Pop! OS, you're going to be right at home here. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that there's not really much in the way of animations in this desktop environment. So if I click on workspaces, you'll see that it appears pretty much immediately. Now, the good thing about this is that it's very fast. I mean, it's just instantaneous. I click it and it's there. I would have liked to see a transition, and maybe we will see some animations in future versions. Again, I'm not going to judge this too harshly, considering that it's just an alpha. Now, if we click on Applications right here, we'll see the Application menu, which will show us all the applications that are installed on our computer. I can scroll through the applications as you see. I can also right-click on an application, and I could pin it to the app tray if I want to always make it available. So as you can see, I was able to pin the Chromium web browser down here in the tray at the bottom, so that works pretty well. And I'm not going to go into too much detail when it comes to these applications because these are things that I've installed on my own that may or may not be in your installation. We're going to focus on the Cosmic Desktop for the most part. Right here, we can see the time and date. If you forgot what time of day it is, well, here you go. We also have a language menu here. This is for those of you that need a different keyboard layout. And of course, we have tray icons up here. So if I hover over the battery icon, you can see that I have about 55 minutes left until empty. Since I'm recording, you could probably cut that in half. But we also have different modes here for your battery. So you can go to high performance mode, which I definitely won't do. If I plan to get through this recording, I forgot my charger. Anyway, can go to battery saver mode if we want to do that. We can also adjust the brightness of the display. Right here we have notifications. We could turn on Do Not Disturb mode if we want to be left alone. I don't have any notifications at the moment, but if I did, they would appear right here. If you want to end your session, what you could do is hover over the power icon here. You could suspend, restart, or shut down. And then here we have our volume controls. So you could choose where your output is going to go, or, the input device that you plan on using. We can also choose to show media controls on the panel as well. I'm not actually playing any audio right now, so we won't need to access that. And then right here, we have the tiling menu. This is something that I'll be showing you shortly, so I'm not going to spend any time on that right now, but this is a very awesome feature. Now, another trick I want to show you is if you press the super key, that brings up the application menu, but it's a little abbreviated. It's not the full application menu. So for example, if I click here, we get the entire application menu. We also have different groups for applications as well. So you could think of this as your application library. However, if you press the super key, you get something that's kind of similar to Spotlight in macOS, where you can easily run an application by simply searching for it. So for example, if I wanted to open Chromium, I just start typing Chromium, and I have a game called Chromium installed as well as a web browser named Chromium. So what I could do is just press the down arrow to select the one I want, press enter, and then the application appears. Anyway, I'm going to close that application, but I just wanted you to be aware of that. You can access applications by clicking here. Or if you know the name of the application that you want to run, you can press the super key to view the launcher right here, which will help you launch applications even faster. You'll notice that there's an icon next to applications that are open. So for example, right here we have two squares next to the File menu, next to Cosmic Files. And if I click on that, it'll take me to the workspace where that application is open. So if you don't remember where things are, you can easily press the super key, and then click on the application if it's running, it'll take you to that application. But if the application is not running, so for example, if I type settings, that's not running. So I'll click on that right here, and that'll open it in my current workspace. Sorry to interrupt my own video, but I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I love creating Linux-related content for you guys. But unfortunately, producing high-quality Linux content like this isn't cheap. But if you want to help me make even more content for you guys, then consider supporting Learn Linux TV. And a great way to do that is to check out the official shop for Learn Linux TV, which was just recently updated. Inside the shop, you'll find distro-themed shirts, bags, drinkware, and more. And there's some other surprises there as well. For example, I've just introduced a mousepad that doubles as a Tmux cheat sheet. How cool is that? So check out the shop at merch.learnlinux.tv, or you could check out the merch shelf right here on YouTube. You could get yourself something really cool and support Linux learning at the same time, so it's a win-win. Anyway, thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the video. And we have some pretty interesting settings here. Now, there might be some things that don't work, considering that this is an alpha, but in my experience, so far, most things seem to work just fine. We can go to the desktop menu if we want to customize the wallpaper. You can add your own image if you have one, or you can simply click on an image to change it. So it's very easy to use, and you can see how fast everything changes. We have multiple pre-installed wallpapers that we can use. I'll just switch mine back to the default, or at least the one that I like the most. You could also enable a slideshow if you'd like to do that. And we have the usual options, fill or fit to screen, if you have a different aspect ratio for your wallpaper. But pretty straightforward here. Under displays, you can see that I have an external display. That's actually the one that I'm recording on. My laptop display is off because I only record from one display at a time. So I'm recording from a 4K display. You can see scaling options here. So if everything looks too small on your display, you could simply bump this up to a higher number if you'd like. So that's what it looks like normally at 100%. And I'll switch it back to 200%. And continuing, we have sound settings, which we can also access by clicking right here and then going down to sound settings. That's a shortcut that gets you right here. You could change your output volume, your input volume, and things like that. Pretty straightforward. You could also choose what your input device is if you have more than one, and also your output device if you have more than one. Power and battery. We have the same battery modes here that we have in this same menu, so we could change the battery mode by accessing the battery menu right here on the panel, or if you're in settings, you could do the same thing here. You could also choose when the machine should suspend. So by default, at least for me, it's set to 15 minutes, and you can disable that if that's not something that you like or prefer. Now back to desktop, there's some other things here that we should take a look at. Now under dock, we could customize the dock down here, and what we could do is make it larger if we want it to be bigger. And of course, that made it go away completely. This is an alpha, so there's that. I'm going to unchoose the automatic hide. I think that's actually why it did that. Let's try this again. You can see that it's actually a lot bigger now. If it's too big, you can simply shrink it if that's something that you want to do. And you could also extend the dock to the edges of the screen. You can make full use of your screen real estate, although it will get bigger as needed even if you don't turn this on. I'll just put this back in the middle. I think it was somewhere around there. You can also configure dock applets as well. So if you don't like any of these icons here, for example, this is your launcher, which is the same thing that you can access by simply pressing the super key. So personally, I don't need it here if I can simply access it by pressing the super key. So what I'll do is just delete that one right there. I don't think I'm going to use that. We could choose whether or not to show minimized windows. We could disable the app tray if that's not something that we want. We could also change the order as well if that's something that we want to do. And the app tray is going to refer to this section right here. Now, another thing I want to show you is workspace settings. So right here, we have settings for workspaces. And what I'm going to do is switch it back to vertical mode. So if you install Cosmic on your end, this is what it's going to look like for you. So if I click on workspaces, we'll see that the workspaces are now on the left. That's the default. If you prefer horizontal, like I do, then you can switch it accordingly, and that's how they show up. And in case you're curious, you can hold down the super key and press left or right, your arrow keys basically, to switch between the workspaces. Now what I'll do is change it back to vertical mode, and now I can hold super and press up and down to do the same thing. So basically, depending on how you have this set up, if you have vertical mode enabled or horizontal mode, you'll either be using the left and the right arrows with the super key or up and down, depending on how you have that configured. But that's definitely something that I wanted to show you. You can also make workspaces span displays as well if that's something that interests you. We also have appearance settings. On my end, I'm using the dark theme. I can switch it to the light theme, which I don't really like, but if that's something that you like, you can go ahead and enable that. And then what I also like to do is choose a green highlight color or accent color here. So you can change your accent color, and you can also customize some additional options right here as well. Next, what I'm going to do is open the Cosmic Store, which is really cool because you could use this to install applications. So if you want to install any of these applications, all you have to do is just click the install button to do that. You can also click the search icon right here if there's something in particular that you're trying to find. So for example, I use Standard Notes, something that I've reviewed recently, and I searched for it, and here it is. I can click on it. Now this is something that I do have installed. It tells you where it's installed from. So this one came from FlatHub, if you care about that kind of thing. You could also uninstall applications from here as well. And the Cosmic Store is also where you'll be getting your updates from. Now, on my end, I'm having an internet issue, so I don't actually have any ability to check for updates right now. However, if I did, I would be able to install them right from here. That's pretty much all there is to it when it comes to the Cosmic Store application. You can, of course, click on these different categories here to narrow down the list to things that are more related to what you're trying to do. Now, not all applications that are available for Linux are going to show here, but quite a few of them do. In fact, pretty much most of what you'll ever need will show up here on this list. And as you can see, Cosmic Store, it's pretty easy to use. You just search for what you want, click on a category, or just search for it through the search up here at the top, and it should be good to go. Now, continuing, what we could also do is remove some of these applets right here. So for example, I could remove this option right here. This is actually the text editor. So I may not want to remove that, but you can access applications through the application library. So you don't have to have them here. You can simply have the applications that you use the most frequently. I'm a Vim user anyway, so I'm probably not going to use this as often. So what I'll do is uncheck right here, pin to app tray. All I had to do is right click on the icon. I can uncheck that and it's gone. Same with the terminal. I can uncheck that and it goes away. Adding any other application I wanted, I could just add an application by simply right-clicking here as we've seen earlier. So if I want to play chess later, I could pin that to my app tray and there it is. Now, another thing that you could do is add your own group. So for example, if I wanted to sort applications that I use specifically for Learn Linux TV, I could create a group for that. So I'll do that right now. Simply type the name of the group and then click Save. And here we have the group. Now there's nothing in here just yet. So what we could do, look for an application that is one that we want to add to that group. And then what I'll do is just drag it into that group, just like that. Now that I've done that, I have OBS in my Learn Linux TV folder, so that works for me. And if there's any other applications that I want to add to a group, I could do that. Another example, I could create a gaming group. And I have Steam installed, so what I'll do is just drag that into the gaming group. And now we have that application right there. So this is pretty cool how it allows you to customize your application library as you see fit. So this is going to have all of your applications right here. And then to easily launch an application, if you know the name of it, again, you press the super key and this box appears right here. So that way you can launch an application through here as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of great options here, but the thing that I really want to show you guys that I am looking forward to showing you is tiling mode, because I think the tiling mode is just awesome. So if you turn that on, all of your applications are going to be, well, tiled. And this is where the active hint really comes in. Earlier, we disabled that. If I hold the super key and press left and right, I could switch between applications, and you could kind of see that one is bold when I switch over to it, and the other is a bit more dim. Now, what I like to do is have the active window hint enabled in tiling mode. Again, that makes it very obvious which one you're on. Another thing that you could do is have stacking mode enabled within tiling mode. So holding super and pressing letter S on your keyboard will enable a stack. What I'm going to do is just open another application. Let's just open up the terminal. You can see that the terminal is open in this stack. They stay in this quadrant, so to speak. So basically a stack is having applications sharing the same window border. Now what you could do is hold shift and then super and press the right arrow, for example, to move it out of the stack. Or I could hold those buttons, again, shift and super, and the left arrow to move it into the stack. Same thing here. What I could do, rather than use the mouse, I'll just hold super, press the right arrow. Now my chess game is highlighted. I'll hold shift and super, press the left arrow, and now all of the applications on this workspace are sharing the same stack. If I go back to workspaces, I'll create a new one, or I'll just access this one right here. I'll do a new file manager window. Now notice that this is not tiled, okay? So by default, you could tile the current workspace, or you could tile all the workspaces. So I'll just click this right here, and now this workspace is also tiled. But I like the fact that your tiling is by workspace. Again, you can have all of your workspaces tiled if that's what you like. But I think having the flexibility to have a tiled workspace and a non-tiled workspace, it just gives you a lot more flexibility, because here I can free roam that window there. Some windows are going to be outside of tiling, especially if they were loaded before you enabled tiling. But if it's something that you get tired of, you could simply uncheck this here. But the new workspace behavior right here will allow us to enable it globally. So I'll say tiled. And now any new workspace that I create will have tiling enabled, as you can see. This makes it very easy to organize your applications exactly as you want. And I gave you the keyboard shortcuts, a few of them at least. You can always just use your mouse to move things around. But if you notice right here, we have some of the keyboard shortcuts listed right here. So if you forget any of them, or at least the most common ones, the 3 most common ones, you can access this menu here for a refresher. Now, so far, I'm really enjoying my experience with Cosmic. It's fantastic. Again, this is an alpha, so I can't really recommend that you use this for your daily driver. But so far, it's working very good for me, at least here on Fedora. So I'm having a great experience, and, well, I definitely recommend that you check it out. But in this video so far, I gave you a preview of the most recent version of Cosmic Desktop as of recording time, so hopefully you enjoyed it. And there's our video. In this video, we took a look at the latest alpha of the Cosmic Desktop from System 76. I'm really excited for this desktop environment. It has all the features that I'm looking for, so once it goes final, it's probably something that I'll be using full time. And what I've seen so far is a very good indicator that that's going to be the case. What did you guys think of the Cosmic Desktop? Let me know in the comments down below. I look forward to reading what you guys have to say. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe to Learn Linux TV for the latest in Linux, and I'll see you in the next video.